Welcome to Simulation. Today we're sitting down with Adeo Ressi.
Hey,
What's up? Thanks for coming on the show.
my pleasure.
This is the second time you were our first guest.
That was special, a lot of backlight.
A lot of backlight facing the Bay Bridge. That was good. That was our first daily show, and now we're at number 66, Adeo.
Wow, come a long way.
We came a long way decently quickly, too.
What's your favorite episode?
I don't know, now that you're here, I'm just thinking back about how society's a bunch of 5-year-olds. I just can't forget about that metaphor. I've been learning a lot from a lot of different people across a lot of different industries, and it's been very enriching to have the opportunity to be a listener and an interlocutor for other people, and hopefully to inspire other people that are watching to be like, holy cow, there's so many cool things happening across all these different industries. How do we get involved? How do we learn? How do we inspire kids to care about these things? So that's kind of what we can do with this.
Hopefully. So I've certainly, last time I was on, I was rushing around, also rushing around today, but I distinctly remember just having 1,000 things, and I'm like, what's this about? And we were talking. So I was pretty to the point about a number of different questions that you asked. And now today I'm fasting, so I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be any less to the point, but hopefully I'll have a milder edge to my responses to the line of discussion that we go down.
Adeo, have you given the idea of the overall awareness of society, you give that a lot of thought in your day-to-day, like you're looking around, you're always observing and analyzing the way that we're doing things and seeing how they can be better?
Yes, and on the whole, it's generally a low level of consciousness. One of the things I like about fasting is talk about a way to artificially wake yourself up. Day 5 to day 7 of a fast, you are going to be very awake. Admittedly, you might be focused on food, right? But all your senses are optimally working. You can smell things very far away. You can hear things very far away. Assuming that you can control your urges for food.
Yep.
That's about one of the most awake states that you can be in as a human being. Unfortunately, if you're eating lots of food, lots of processed food, you're not sleeping well, you're basically not challenging your mind, and you're not exercising, that's the inverse state of fasting, and you're basically physically asleep, regardless of whether your mind is awake. So, I think most people have a physical state of asleepness coupled with a mental state of asleepness, and that's something I'm working on.
You mentioned this challenging these norms that are baked into us, which is this eating 3 times a day, eating whatever, sometimes that we see, not even questioning where it came from, these kind of things. When you do have the pleasure to go on a fast for a little period of time, it almost takes us back to the feeling of not knowing exactly when that next meal was exactly coming, and it triggers a lot of different things. When you're about to put that bite of food into your mouth after a couple days of fasting, you salivate so much when you're first chewing it. It's like you actually appreciate your food again.
Well, especially if it's good food. I mean, one of the issues that we have today that has been consuming me, if you will, is how poor our food infrastructure is. I mean, the reality is, if you take a bunch of people who are not conscious and you ask them to build a world, this is about the best world you're going to get, and it's really out of whack, right? Because again, people aren't fully conscious. So, we're feeding ourselves. The food is just terrible. So it's true that you salivate and you're very eager to eat whatever it is, but there's a huge difference if it's a Dorito or if it's a freshly picked orange or something like that. And the reality is, for most people, it's going to be a Dorito, right? So there's a lot of that. I mean, one of the things that I grapple with being awake and conscious is, where do you start, right? So, for example, since I was last on the show, which I guess would have been towards the end of last year, right?
Mm-hmm. And early this year. Yeah.
Was it early this year?
Yeah.
Wow. The reason I say wow is because since then, I've done a number of things. So I started a think tank, and we're actually doing an event this weekend on consumption. And
what's it called?
One.
It's called One.
Yes.
And can we publicly address the locate, or is this?
No, I'm not. I mean, if someone's eager to go, it's about consumption. It involves a hike. There, you can also camp if you're interested. You can just hit me on Twitter, I guess, But it's not. I'm debating whether to make it public or not. What I don't want to do is have
turn into a party.
Well, it's a intentional community.
Intentional community, yeah.
So and we have themes for each of the different things that we do, and it's been very informative on a number of different things, including the fact that most of our mental models for how the world operates are wrong. So that's been interesting, and we've done a number of events since being on the show last, which wasn't all that long ago. So I'm like, wow, this is the third one. This is a camping and hiking one. We did another one on a ranch, and then we did the first one in a secret garage.
One per month-ish.
It's been about that, right? So the first one was really thinking about well-being. The second one was the topic was unplug, and it was basically about the collapse of social media and how social media is really damaging humanity. And then this one is about consumption, just looking at the sheer amount of waste that we produce living our daily lives, which is excessive. Yeah. And the idea is that you want to take out of this inspiration, but also action.
Yes.
And what I've learned through it is that there's a certain they're what I'll call super connectors. Okay, so humanity, as best as I can tell, seems to have an somewhat unconscious substrata to it, and it's there's evidence of this substrata existing in other animals. Ergo, you have alpha males and things like that. But who is an alpha male isn't always explicit by who's the largest. There's some sort of inherent communication layer that's going on between animals. So I think there's what I call supernodes, and these are individuals around which ideas and theories radiate. And what's interesting is if you can bring supernodes together and agree on things and have a profound impact. I mean, in many ways, you can argue this is the genesis of things like the G8 or Davos or something like that. Try and get as many supernodes together and talk about things. Unfortunately, a lot of times they get together and they talk about, like, how do I make more money for myself, right? Because I don't think much of the world, including the supernodes, are incredibly enlightened at this moment. But what I'm trying to do is bring an intentional community together that includes supernodes for the purpose of radiating out important changes in society.
Yes.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
I'm glad that you started that. I think you're probably the right person for that in this Bay Area community. I think you are.
We'll see. It's has its challenges. Let's put it that way. It's not everyone's so type A here that it's very hard to wrangle scheduling. It's fascinating, but to some extent it doesn't really matter, because what I've also found is like the right people will be there for what it is, right? And in many ways, it's not even, it's not a volume thing. It's not like, oh, we had a 5,000 person event.
Quality.
Well, it's which goes back to
node super connectors.
Right, and the idea of opening it up or not. I'm not. So I'll give you an example of cause, effect, and what is what. But so we had one called Unplug, as I was telling you about, and we really looked at the negative consequences of the constant mobile connection, social media. It's all just fake metrics of popularity, like how many people like me, like really, like how many people hearted my photo, like, and which was fake to begin with. So, and this is like, our children are being taught that these vanity metrics are important. And that to me is a dangerous road to tread, because I don't personally see how you could look at that in a constructive way in the long term, right? Oh, the vanity metrics of likes is going to somehow elevate human consciousness and make us better? No.
What if we were to make the case for it with using it to propel a very conscious message across the social fabric?
Well, so I don't. Then you get back to the medium and the message, right? And there's a lot of theory about how interrelated are the two, and how effective would a one type of message be on a different kind of medium. Right, so when you look at, and there's a very easy example with President Trump, who on Twitter, with his 140 character missives, can generate millions and millions of followers and fans.
Most recently, Kanye West has been doing this.
And then if you flip over and put him on broadcast television as a president, he looks more like a reality TV star. He doesn't fit the role very well in that medium. So the medium and the message are
from live to 140 characters is a big difference, versus in person in front of a big audience could be
right. So back to your question, can you use that medium? So it seems to me that right now, social media is effective at vanity metrics and essentially hate speech. And hate speech is a strong word, but let me put it another way. If I say something perfectly nice and plain vanilla, like, you look great today, no one cares. If I'm like, if I say something with an edge that is somewhat like controversial, like, that shirt makes you look like a inserted slang word, I promise the following statement is 1,000% true. It's 0 likes, vanity metrics versus you ignite the internet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if the medium is designed for vanity metrics, the messages going through the medium are going to be highly correlated. And right now, the vanity metrics are pulling out really kind of hate speech, racial divides, and other things that I don't think are positive to humanity. So I don't know if you could take a positive message for humanity and
through
push
this
it
medium.
through this medium. I don't think so. You know, I have no empirical. Tell me one.
Sure. There seems to be a couple people that are pushing good messaging. For example, well, I just use myself as an example that I messaged out, and I got a decent amount of attraction on this message where I said that the world is a complex place, so I spend as much of my time possible learning. And stuff like that, at least it says, a little scratch on the head. And
Yeah, so I'll give you a slightly better one. Elon, right? Elon Musk. But, you know, with that said, like, he trolls the internet deliberately. He makes bad jokes. He made a flamethrower, for heaven's sakes, right?
That's true.
So here's a guy who probably does have a good heart and all this stuff, and trolls the internet at the same time, and making a flamethrower.
And like
sell
he
it.
wrote hat salesman on his like bio on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, the medium and the message are highly related, and it's an interesting time right now. So let's take a step back, because I know we're talking about simulation stuff like this. Well, our simulation is about to break, okay? Because let me help you with like where things are.
Let me help you with your one community, so that way we don't break the simulation.
Well, so jobs are going away. I was.
Some are being born as well. Some new jobs are coming.
Well,
Not
we can
as
talk.
many as
We can
we're
talk
displacing.
about what those new jobs are, but jobs are going.
They're highly skilled jobs in many ways. Yeah.
Jobs as we know them are going away. The world of command and control. You get paid to do something. So almost all manual labor, from field work to factories, are going to be replaced by robots. The robots now are very advanced. Almost all white collar work, and I was talking with one of the top AI guys in the world yesterday in my office, and there's really nothing. And it's not even AI, because under AI you have this deep learning, machine learning. With the present day capabilities of machine learning and deep learning,
AlphaZero is pretty scary now.
so we'll forget about AI, right? Forget about like AI coming in, but just the basics of like taking a data set and understanding, or taking a photo and determining like disease or illness or something like that. That, everything from doctors, lawyers,
Accountants.
Bankers, the entire sort of white collar professional field is a couple dev cycles away from being obviated out of existence. Now, so you've got your white collar jobs going away, your blue collar jobs going away, and then what's money, right? You can't work to make money, so then how do you get money? Right? And what do you use money for? While all this is happening, I don't know if you noticed, but everything has become ridiculously inexpensive. Like, yes, your cell phone's very expensive because Apple's sitting on billions of dollars of your money. But if a cup, they give things away for free. These glasses were $6, right? That's, I mean, at this point, the cost of stuff is coming way down, and you don't need to work. So where's everything going? Now, I'll tell you, if we don't consciously start thinking about it, it's going to drive off a cliff.
Yeah.
Because you can't put the mass of humanity out of work without some sort of plan.
Correct.
right? So, one of the things that I'm hopeful about, and I think is a beautiful thing, is people today, as I mentioned, this command and control world is falling apart around us. You don't work for anyone anymore. You're not going to be working in a factory. You're not going to be working in a Starbucks. You're not going to be working in a field. You're not going to be an accountant. You're not going to be a doctor. You're not going to be a lawyer. Most of those things are going to be gone. 10 years for sure, 20 years definitely. So, between 10 and 20 years from now, the way we live will be radically different.
Yep.
Now, you can create things that inspire people to work with you on problems to fix the world and make the world better. So I think that's the model of the future where we're headed, where instead of you getting a job doing something for someone, you say, look, here is a major problem in the world that I believe needs to be fixed, or I feel is my purpose to work on. If you can eloquently state that to the world, you'll find other people who share those same beliefs and worldview, and you'll work with them to make the world better.
Yeah.
Now, that might not be a job in the classic sense. You may not be, you may not have a role. You may not have a task list that you do every day. It certainly won't be repetitive work, right? We can thankfully kiss goodbye the era of repetitive work. That's gone. So you'll be doing a lot more mind-related work, as you were saying. But then again, what is compensation in that world, right? How do you get paid? Who pays for what? Now, I believe that success is belief, or belief is the new currency of success. And let me explain that. So it's a interesting concept when you don't have money, don't really have a job. How do you get resources? What is success? And I think the more that people believe in the vision that you're working on, the more successful that vision will be in the world, the more resources you're going to get to work on it, and eventually that will translate into, achieving that vision, which is the ultimate metric of success. Yep. So crypto is a great example of that. Crypto has no value. If a Bitcoin has no value, the more people that believe in Bitcoin, the more valuable it becomes, and then you can use it for things, in theory. And what's going to happen is that's how society is going to start to work going forward. You create something that people believe in, the sort of value of the world gets aggregated by the group that's working on it, and they become therefore successful in achieving their mission. So really, if you look at belief, and this is kind of a profound thing that I'm grappling with myself, and I'm sure a lot of people are in this transitional time, is, where does it start and where does it end, right? So I think it starts with believing in yourself first, right? Which is hard because most people are asleep, not necessarily trying, and probably don't believe in a lot of things that they see outside of themselves.
We need a social fabric that helps people find within themselves what they love and do that thing.
Right. Well, and then maybe they should believe in exactly what you just said, some sort of vision of the world. But I don't think you can believe in a vision of the world if you don't believe in yourself. Yeah. Right? You believe in yourself first, then you believe in the vision of the world. But then you got to get people to believe with you in that vision,
Yep.
right?
Be your biggest fan and also your biggest critic at the same time.
Well, hopefully, right. Hopefully, they're not just yes people. They are. I mean, they're on their own journey with value to add, right? That's why I'm very careful about not saying for you, but with you. So
With you, yeah.
they believe with you in the vision,
Exactly.
and they work with you on the vision.
Exactly.
And then after you get initial quote unquote team members, maybe you get investors, maybe you get users, customers, and you can spread these wings of belief wide and create something amazing. And I think that is probably the best use of someone's energy right now, is to kind of slap themselves out of a slumber. And it's going to happen one of two ways, okay? Either they're going to get fired from their job, kicked out of their house, and have them and their family on the street in some number of years from now that's less than 20 and probably over 10. Or they're going to start consciously taking control of their life now,
Yeah.
and addressing these things.
And it's very dangerous if the first one is the one that happens.
Well, it's headed that way.
Yeah.
How many truckers are thinking of their
Retraining,
career
job retraining,
right,
yeah.
exactly. Are thinking of their post-trucking career. It's the number one middle-class employer in the country of America, in the United States.
3 million total.
4.
Yeah.
4
And
million.
That's including taxi and truck, right?
No, 4 million just truckers.
Just truck?
Yeah. So imagine, like, that's double. That's a big chunk of the population right there.
That's huge, yeah.
Right, and so it's over 10%, and they're all middle class. You know, maybe some on the fringe or not, but it's a middle class job. It's considered the middle of the middle class world, and they're going away. And I don't think they have a lot of retraining going on. So someone needs to be working this problem, right? And it doesn't seem like the people themselves, but in the best case scenario, you have people themselves saying, like, okay, I'm not like, I see the writing on the wall a little bit, right? You don't need to be fully conscious. I need to do something, right? That's step one, hopefully. Or secondly, you know, people like me can also go out there and try and work with as many people as possible.
Maybe an actual autonomous truck needs to show up in those actual truck stops, and they need to see the autonomous truck driving cargo loads.
Yeah, but nobody, I mean...
Maybe that's what has to happen.
Oh, that is happening.
But I mean, maybe in order for them to finally kick it into gear. So I'm just wondering, what are the mechanisms that kick people into gear?
Sadly, kick is the operative word. I mean, no one just like rolls out of bed in gear, right? You often get hit really hard, right? So last time I was on the show, not that long ago, I had just exited a period where I had been hit really hard. It just happens, right?
Yeah.
You get situations that come up in life where by either external forces or internal forces or something in between, you get knocked down, right? And a lot of times when you get knocked down, you're awake,
Yeah.
right? So unfortunately, like, I have anecdotal evidence that your point about seeing the truck won't work, because I used to believe that similar thesis, that you could show someone something sufficiently amazing that they would have no choice but to wake up, whatever, insert blank.
Wow.
So that was the genesis of my involvement in space and the X Prize, because I figured that, I could effectuate something at such a grand scale that when humanity actually saw that it was just a bunch of ragtag people, it would inspire them that they could do anything. And in fact, that didn't work. So and it's super not didn't work. So X Prize itself did the impossible. We with a small team of people, created a system that caused humanity, for the first time in history, to send people to space privately. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that the entire board of directors, when I joined it, might have been 5 or 6 people. And that was the entire organization. Maybe they had someone in an office somewhere that was doing some accounting or something, but that was basically, and they had an executive director who was part-time. So it was like a very small, and then, a few years later, people went to space privately. But and it got a lot of media, but it didn't change anything. And then, you have someone like Elon Musk, who came out of that initiative and is taking us to Mars, and he's become a bit of a cult legend. But rather than people saying, hey, this guy did it, I can do it, they're just like, wow, Elon's amazing, right? And it's not like, oh, well, maybe you're amazing too. It's like, no, he's amazing. It's like, oh, okay. So, I don't think, again, like the truck coming up in the thing, they see it, wow, that's amazing. Like, how does it affect me? Does it mean that they're going to get affected when the eviction notice comes on their door as their loved one has cancer because they haven't been eating well, and then they're like, I'm off path, this is broken. And unfortunately, that type of rude awakening often doesn't wind up with someone running out and hugging a neighbor, right? It usually winds up with someone grabbing their shotgun and blowing away people at the local food store. So, that my concern is, like, we have enough time that
the window closes every day. It's closed.
Right. We see the landing strip over there. The pilot just had a heart attack, and there's plenty of time to figure out how to fly the plane right now. Yeah. Right? But if we don't actually take control of the plane right now, we are going to crash. And that crash will not be pretty, because it's a rude awakening.
And if we think it's bad in a country that has 300 million people, what about the 3 billion that live in the circle of India and China?
Well, yes, but they may be on a slower. Their plane is behind us, right? Oh. Their pilot also had a heart attack, but we're maybe depending on the country, we're living in the bleeding edge, right? Yeah. That's why I'm sure if you plotted it out, and I've read this, but I'm sure if you plotted it out, the number of psychotic episodes that lead to mass killings is on the rise in the United States.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Anecdotally, for sure, I've seen some stats on it. Certainly the number of deaths is on the rise. Yeah. There's some argument maybe it wasn't as well reported a few years back, but it by all metrics that I can observe, they seem to be on the rise.
It's become a natural aspect of our news cycle now.
Well, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're seeing other evidence in other ways of sort of mental breakdowns where cops are shooting suspects or whatever. And all this is just because we're getting closer and closer to the landing strip without a captain, and we're going to crash. And as I said, when we crash, and like, so you imagine what causes someone this type of psychotic episode.
A lot
right?
of it was part of that social fabric that we were talking about earlier, especially the social media stuff that's going on.
It's not helping, right? For sure. They're almost being, radicalized by social media, to your point, for sure. But even leaving that aside, so these type of psychotic episodes are almost always due to stress, like extreme levels of stress, where you're just like, now, an extreme level of stress is highly variant on the person. So I can handle stress like you can't believe.
It can come from things like not having food, but it can also come from things like not being actualized.
Yeah.
And that seems to be one that's coming up quite a bit as this heart attack has happened and the plane's crashing, is there are people that are not actualized on the plane, so there's no strong incentive for people to try and figure it out at this time.
Oh yeah, they don't even know the plane's crashing. They're in the back. Can I get another drink? You're like, sure. It's like the captain's dead and everyone's drinking on the plane. Literally, that's what's happening. Now the problem is, someone looks out the windows like, we're crashing, and everyone's like, whatever. And then that person goes nuts and starts shooting people, right? And so what's happening right now is that we're seeing, you can look at it like the early warning signs of what it will look like, right? So if someone, and these are the weakest members of society who already have some history of mental illness in many cases, and all the stress of the world gets them, they break, imagine now the stress of the world gets so great, it's going to be 50% of the, everyone has a breaking point. Everyone. 100% of humanity has a breaking point.
Yeah.
That breaking point is not pretty.
Yeah.
It's drug abuse, violence. You don't care anymore. You're just like, bam, bam, and then shoot me. I don't care.
Mayhem.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to fearmonger here at all. Quite the opposite. But I think we as humanity need to say, okay, look, U.S. is way ahead of everyone else. Okay, way ahead. We're leading the pack on this stuff. And we're seeing...
Our plane is closest to land, to
right.
crashing. Yeah.
And we're seeing now people on the fringe of society at a high volume going crazy and just mass murdering people. At like the concerts and festivals, and like this is really,
nightclubs, elementary schools, like
everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's like, and we're here now every day. It's like getting closer. We're gonna get more, and nobody is like in the back of the cabin, like, okay, everyone, put down the drinks. And we got to figure out how to land the plane. And
that's what these communities are kind of doing. That's what you just did. Put down the drinks. Let's go to the community. Let's go and talk, and let's go back with action, and let's go figure out what to do quickly and efficiently to get other people to put down their drinks for a bit, just so that we can talk and work together on figuring out what to do within the next 10 years, especially within the next one.
And here's the thing. I'm not even, I don't know if we can stop it. Let me be clear what I mean by that. I think we have enough time right now to stop the psychosis of the crash happening and people grabbing guns and killing one another. I think we can stop that for sure. We have enough time.
Yeah.
But what's happening on the other side is there's an acceleration of just like Moore's law in technology that is happening in AI, it's happening obviously in computing power, it's happening in solar technology.
Solar,
Yeah,
blockchain.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So what's I don't think there's no hit the brake, right? I just don't see that.
Certain things are interestingly hitting the brake. Let's see if I can add a little bit of a positive spin.
I'm not
because
being negative.
I know you're being realistic is what you're being, which I am very aware of your realism, and that's why I'm so tuned into your realism. We don't talk about it so realistically on the show to the T that you're at. We do talk about it, but not to the exact realism that you are. Your metaphors are really strong as well. So let me see if I can add a little bit of light to the realism. Part of the realism is also things like learning how to grow clean meat, things like that, clean leather.
Yeah.
So things like that I think are actually, interestingly enough, kind of slowing down they're slowing down the acceleration of the plane crashing a little bit. And there are probably some
I have
examples
issues
like
in concept with clean. I mean, I love meat. I mean, we're crazy. We're crazy. Our formula has been so hacked that it's stunning. So if you think about, and clean meat is just like a great example of the easy hacking of the human formula. So humans have to consume, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with consuming, but you can play with your inherent need to consume, so then all of a sudden we own tons of crap we don't need.
Yeah.
And then you get in this like dopamine hit of consumption, and meat, like obviously we like meat, right? So then like because it's just hardwired into our lizard brain that it has protein, minerals that we need. Similarly, we like sugar.
Yeah.
Like if you found a sugar item in the past, when we were hunter-gatherers, generally it had a high amount of energy that you needed, so you liked it more, right? So, but now we play on those things, right? So like we're mass manufacturing meat because the lizard brain likes it. We're refining sugars into. I mean, we've got a lot of work to do. I mean, that's all part of the problem, but I agree that there are bright spots. I'm not saying that at all, and I'm not entirely sure there's enough bright spots.
Yeah, there need to be more bright spots. Yeah.
But my point was, that plane is going down.
There's a countdown.
And there is no ability to slow it right now. It's just to land it, because the pace of technological change does not seem that controllable by humanity. It's almost on its own thing, right? Its own and frequency. It's on trajectory, if you will, and like we could. I couldn't even imagine what you would do, right? So to stop it, like, how would you stop AI?
I think the
development of AI.
I think a really good way to at least to loop the right people in would be to start saying there needs to be ethicists and philosophers around the programmers.
I tried that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like, so at the X Prize, I was very concerned about the Genomics Prize because any great tool of prejudice will be abused. So, and genomic sequencing is a great tool of prejudice. You can be like, this baby will be X, bigger, faster, blanker than that baby.
Smarter.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, who knows?
Yeah.
Prejudice, right? And who knows if it's true? That baby could fall on its head and then have and there's so many things that can happen in the world, nature versus nurture, but there is a huge genetic predisposition that people have to outcomes. and so it's a tool of prejudice. So I was like, look, we can't just go willy-nilly and rush off and say, let's get genome sequencing down really cheap so that, because the theoretical benefits to humanity will outweigh the theoretical prejudices and abuses to humanity. And so I tried to get ethicists and others involved, and
It's our 15-minute timer.
And it just didn't work. They just, we tried. No one listened. No one cared. It's like this relentless march. I call it the unintended consequences.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And it's this march to the unintended consequences. Everyone knows the intended consequences, right? But no one seems to care about what the unintended consequences are. So I'm not sure that you can slow it down. I don't think you can. I think it's going to happen. So the best thing that we can hope for is to really land that plane as comfortably and safely as possible, and then, enter a new world that we have consciously designed.
Yeah.
That's the real bright spot.
Yeah.
Right? So either you're going to land the plane in Hawaii, or you're going to crash in the Pacific Ocean, get eaten by sharks. What would you like to do?
Yeah.
I'll take the sharks.
As long as you can eat them back.
There's so much truth and realism to this metaphor, and I think it's really important to seep into the way that we realistically observe our social fabric. And I think looking back at where we actually came from and all the hard work that went into where we got to today, when I think about the people that worked their ass off to get us here, I think about them thinking about us, and I think about them thinking about us seeing the plane. And this is a good Fermi filter. It's one of those situations where civilizations evolve around stars, and then some of them don't get there because they don't figure out how to work together, and they gotta.
Or they collapse.
Yeah.
Or the societies collapse. I mean, societal collapse is the norm, right? Tell me a society that hasn't collapsed. There isn't one, right? Big ones.
That's how we collectively learn, though. Unfortunately, we do have, brilliant minds among us, but we all go down together, and unfortunately...
Well, we don't have to, though. That's just a paradigm that is of our own construct, right? So if we all see the plane is going to crash, right? Or at least, look, I'm not the smartest.
I want to see if we can. Let's do a couple quick things. The first thing was you did the one communities are you've done well-being, social media. What'd you call that one?
Unplug.
Detox. Unplug, and then this one coming up is
Consumption.
So, what was a good takeaway from the well-being one?
We came up with probably the most effective way to cure cancer, and I hope that today, tomorrow, I'm going to start rolling pieces of that plan out to make it happen.
Via Medium or what?
No. Someone else came up with the idea on how to make it happen. But basically, most cancer is a victim of having essentially stakeholders that are not communicating. So there was a whole story the other day, I believe it was on 60 Minutes, about this couple that raised an insanely large amount of money, $25 million, to cure their kids' cancer. And what you end up having is you've got stakeholders without aligned incentives. So you've got doctors that need cures, researchers that need grant money, patients, oftentimes with parents and loved ones that are supporting them. Parents and loved ones don't know where to give the money to. So they're almost like silos that are...
Are you talking about a Patreon for cancer?
I'm
Like a
talking.
GoFundMe for cancer?
I'm talking about we believe the first manifestation of which will be an event that brings together all of the different stakeholders. And you would think, oh yeah, that must happen. It doesn't.
The doctors with the researchers, with the family, with...
Doesn't happen.
And
Never.
so bringing them together,
Yes. And it's stupidly easy, but
like a cancer
also,
conference,
it might be more, it could be a fundraiser potentially.
cancer fundraiser.
Right, because the parents and families of cancer victims have incredible fundraising power. You know, we might look to start it with young cancer patients who have a very high return rate of the disease. It's about 2 years, and it usually comes back. So families get this moment of lapse in stress, and if they know that it's likely to come back, they can group together, raise capital, and they're a highly motivated and valuable stakeholder group to the problem that is completely unleveraged by the circumstances. So you know, that I think, and there are other people who believe that this unifying the different stakeholders is the way to go. So this isn't an original idea, but I think
Executing on it.
Executing on it, right.
Okay, so that was the big takeaway from well-being. And then what about unplug?
We have to, you know,
Was Tristan Harris there? Or the Time Well Spent group? Were they there?
we had one of the founders of modern day social media there just by happenstance. We have to, essentially the takeaway was, technology has stopped connecting people, and so we need to get back to the roots and find out ways to create innovations that actually build meaningful connections between people versus these superficial vanity metrics.
Yeah.
And then, you know, out of that, almost immediately after that, like, I and some others started rallying against social media. It was Confluence or whatever. And shortly after that, you know, Facebook, Cambridge Analytical stuff got leaked,
Yep.
and all this other stuff. And so I'm not entirely sure the cause and effect there, but you know, it was certainly timely, this gathering, and then sort of the almost immediate downfall of Facebook.
Yeah.
Thereafter.
Yeah.
But and who knows what will happen. But I've certainly taken that second message on the road into heart, because we've broken. I mean, social media is a plague right now.
Well, out of that takeaway that you had, to build one that's meaningful, or to get the connections back, to get these strong human connections back, what was the action item? Like, how is it built?
So I think for me, a couple key action items came out of it for me. Number one is aligning your mind, body, and soul, so to speak, and it's harder said than done. You have an essence, you have a mind, and you have a body, and you want to aim those things in the same rough direction, right? And when you do, amazing things can happen.
Yeah.
Then that's sort of a personal takeaway from it. But then the broader sort of market takeaway from it is that we need to inspire there's no fixing Facebook. There's no fixing Twitter. They were broken from the genesis, right? And this goes back to, you know, some thinking on AI and other things that we were talking about. There's this concept called the seed. And if the seed of an AI is good, there's a belief that the AI may be good. If the seed of the AI is bad, there's a belief that the AI may be bad. Well, I can tell you that's definitely true in companies. So, you know.
You think that if we paid $5 or $10 a month for Facebook and didn't see ads, that it would be a better platform?
No. The seed is bad.
Okay.
Mark built it to creep on girls at Harvard. And it's that the fact that it's creepy and spies on you and does devious things is at the core of how it was created, right? So to think that it can get away from that, no matter how many years later it is unlikely.
So it needs to be a new genesis, a new seed. Okay.
We need, well, so the takeaway from that, for me, I help entrepreneurs 7 days a week
Yep.
launch new businesses.
And I'll be helping tonight again.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll see you then. So my vision is to help as many people work on meaningful problems with a good seed as humanly possible
Yes.
to make it happen that the next generation of companies, when they get big,
Yes.
will be beautiful.
I like how one of the first things that you do with your entrepreneurs that are coming through FI is that you help them make sure that the seed, that the genesis of that is you're
As
talking
best we
about-
can.
Yeah.
As best we can. It's not easy.
And what about hit us with the new one, this new one that's coming up on consumption? What are some of the things that you're thinking about introducing to that?
Well, so it's very experiential. So you're going to hike through the California coastlands, 8 distinct habitats, from redwoods, etc., down across a river into this beautiful backcountry campsite. You'll be greeted by a Zen monk, and you bring an offering of something we should consume less of. You sort of place that down, and we go through sort of a ceremony that I experienced as a child that I think is really nice. It's a soup drinking ceremony. And then essentially we're going to form, and some guided meditation, then we're going to form groups around the things that you brought and to discuss ways to
This is great.
reduce the consumption.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a meal that everything is completely raw, vegan, obviously.
And then all those like metal utensils or ceramics. So there's
No, nothing. It's done in
leaf?
flaxseed cones.
Flaxseed cone.
So 100% of everything can be digested.
Or degradable if you don't eat it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or eaten by something else.
Yeah.
So you're actually going to have a meal with a as close to possible a zero waste footprint.
As long as, of course, though, those raw materials didn't come in plastic bags themselves and cans and stuff. So, like, there's always.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm with you that. So where I'm
This is
going with
good.
that though
This is
is
good.
that it's not that. So what? And people are going to come backpack. Some people are going to come backpack camping. And by the way, with the walk through the 8 coastal environments, you pass farmland. That's like some of the most beautiful farmland you've ever seen. But you also pass some areas where some of the farm hands live on one of the 2 routes because it's a loop.
Yeah.
And it's like a profound view of consumption, right? And so we want to make it one part experiential, right? Where you're thinking about it because you're being forced to think about it, because you're carrying your own stuff, because you're going out, because you're passing where food is grown.
Yeah.
And then one part really cognitive, where you're actually participating as a human being, thinking about things consciously,
creatively.
right?
Yeah.
And creatively. And so like that combination of experiential and conscious. And we did that in the last one, in the Unplug, we did it at a ranch. Cell phones didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Then,
Exactly.
you were unplugged.
You were unplugged.
There was no plugging in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
No.
and then we, did very like deliberate get away from, and we brought a DLSR.
Yeah.
Okay. To take, I'm like, you don't even know what they're called anymore. It's been so long. To take photos because we didn't want people with their phones.
Yeah, that's good. Exactly.
Right.
So there's a photographer that would come with rather than. Yeah.
Well, no. We just brought so there's other rules. There are no 2 classes. There's no two classes. No two classes. So there's no like,
You're this and I'm that.
yeah, no classes.
Yeah.
No classes at all, no two classes for sure.
Yeah.
So that's super hard to do, because essentially, like, I cooked a meal for 30 people
Yeah.
at the ranch.
It's fun. Someone else maybe cleaned it, and someone else maybe helped with a different part of it. It's a community thing. And Adeo, I'm really happy that you're doing this. Is there a domain for it for people to go check it out yet? No. It's totally got it. And the way to hear about it is to tweet at you if they want to participate in it. And once a month, this sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can help grow the movement, really. Hopefully we can grow that movement.
Well, I hope that everyone here, more than that, the plane is coming down.
Yeah, the metaphor is really good.
And we
More
gotta,
brightness.
put the alcohol away, get together and start talking about what we're gonna do to land the plane.
Excuse me, flight attendant, may I have some LSD?
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you, waking up, you don't need psychoactive substances.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to do it.
Yeah.
If you want a shortcut, fast. I mean, I'll tell you,
Fasting, yeah.
you have physical asleepness and mental asleepness, right? And they're usually in alignment. So if you can jolt one awake, it certainly will help with the other. But
There's that moment when you're on YouTube and you see the cat video, and then you see a really smart person giving a talk of some sort, and you just if you pick the smart person giving a talk and you actually tune in and listen to it, you'll feel much differently. Just like you were describing with fasting, if you actually put your body to the test, you will feel differently. You'll also feel a sense of conscientiousness. You set yourself a goal and you follow through with it, and it feels great. And then if you keep doing that over and over again, you'll see that your life fulfillment will slowly get better and better, and you'll gravitate people around you that are like that as well. Okay, one quick one before you.
I know we're out of time.
What is the deepest emotion you've ever felt?
Acceptance.
Yeah.
So it's hard to accept things for many reasons. If you can get there, which is hard, it's very powerful.
But both when we put the mirror up and look and accept there's maybe something that we want to work on and get there, but also seeing that somebody else accepts you for your vision or for whatever impact you're trying to make, and they really enjoy that about you.
Or accepting the world.
And accepting the world, but also accepting the plane, and that we need more light on this plane to land it. Okay. All right, so this has been amazing. Number 66 with Adeo Ressi. I'm glad we had you back. Let's see if we can do 132 with you as well. This is great. Every single time I feel like we're slowly but surely unpacking civilization in ways that we can design it to be better, and it's always a pleasure, Adeo.
We can get more specific on another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you had a good time, give us a share. Seriously, this content's really important to get out to the world, so give it a share with people around you. Give us a like, give us a comment below with your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button, join the community, and make sure to join us on Patreon. We're trying to be sustainable, we're trying to expand, trying to grow the content base, trying to inspire other creatives to do more big events. So join us there. And thank you, Ron Vargas, our producing partner. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you guys soon.
Bye, guys.